Fiscal Committee meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. First thing we need to do is approve the minutes from our meeting held on May 5th.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. That's been approved. We're going to move right into our reports with much anticipation. A report from Dave Bixler, our budget analyst, on council supplement to finance status reports. Welcome.
Thank you. Dave Bixler, budget analyst for the City Council. What I want to pull together here is just some information that the finance department provides on a monthly basis. And I just want to get a little bit further into the details and make the council aware of some of this information that's available to them. First off, looking at building permit values, you can see that for 2015, we're at $533 million, and that's actually above the total annual amount from 2000 to 2012. We've already exceeded the total amount. And then also you can look at, if you look at the line, that is through August of each year. And so any bar that's above the line represents the growth from September, October, November, December. And so I'll be providing this monthly so you can just get an idea of the gauge of what, of the growth. Here we have just the commercial and residential broke out. For the most part over the time frame, the amounts stay pretty close together, except in 2015 through August, you can see that our commercial is very high at $342 million, and residential comes in at $191 million. This graph just represents over the 2015, the year, and it just represents the different months and the amounts of building permits that were let in those months. In March, Good Samaritan Society had $24 million in building permits. In June, there was a $19 million permit for a lab at Southeast Tech. And in July, we had the Outdoor Aquatic Center permit. Here is the general fund, and I just want to point out that this is year to date, and these amounts can fluctuate a little bit because of the different timing. We get property taxes at 2 times through the year, so it will definitely fluctuate, and you'll see that on a monthly basis. But obviously, taxes are 80% of the general fund's revenue. Of that, property tax is 41%. The first penny is 52%. And the balance comes from frontage, bid, and occupancy taxes. Here are the general fund uses. You can see that public safety is at 38%, split out between those two. Police is at 57%, and fire is at 43%. And in the culture and recreation, Parks and Rec would make up about 11% of that, 16%. Here's the second penny capital uses year to date, and again, this number will definitely fluctuate over time as well. As you can see, highways and streets so far year to date is at 50%. Our debt service is at 20% year to date, and Parks and Rec is at 20% as well. I wanted to pull this out. This is 2014, and this is a year-end number. So this gives you an idea of where it turned out as far as his sales and use tax uses in 2014. Highways and streets is at 51%. You can see a debt service ended up at 31%. Park and Rec at 9%. And then this is just our entertainment tax collections. And these are total year numbers from 2010 to 2014, and 2015 we're at $4.5 million through August. Any questions?
Yeah, Councilor Rolfing.
I have a couple of them. Dave, on the last slide here, entertainment tax, is it 2015 through August?
Yes.
Rest of them are year-end?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure on that, because that, otherwise, yeah, that's not a 10% increase we've been.
So if I annualize that amount, I just looked at it, it'd be about 6.7 million. If I would,
And then on the debt service, the 20% and the 31% from the capital and the operations, or both of them are capital. Does that include the payment for the event center?
yes, in 2014 it would. In 2015 year-to-date, it does not. It's, right now, it's just got SRF loans. Those payments will be coming through. State revolving funds.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Karski.
Go back to, and I think my question might be similar. Okay, right there. That was year-to-date by department, and the next slide was
That was 2014 year-end.
So our debt service, or do we expect our debt service, I'm sorry if I'm repeating the question that Councilor Rolfing asked. Do we anticipate at the end of the year our debt service to still consume 21% of our capital budget?
That I don't know. The debt service in 2014 was about 16 million, and right now, year-to-date, in 2015, I think we're at about 6 million. So as far as...
It's probably not unreasonable to assume that our debt service is spread out, amortized in equal monthly payments then. So if we're at 6 million through August, that's 2/3 of the year, might be 9 million?
It is not spread out evenly throughout the year. No, it is not. So that's why I put in this slide, just to give you that representation of what it looks like at the year end. Because as we look at it month to month, that could be misleading. From going from debt service at 20% to 2014 showing it at 31%.
That's why. Yeah. I have one more.
Councilor Erickson.
Just a quick question on the entertainment tax collections. I might be making this up, I'm not quite sure. Tell me, didn't we just pay off some bonds, and so using entertainment tax dollars?
There were bonds that were paid off for the pavilion.
Yes.
And I think they were paid off last year, actually. And this is just revenue. This is just the revenue collections.
Okay.
This
Sorry.
is not net of expenses.
Sorry, thank you.
Councilor Rolfing.
Yes, Dave, on the building permit values through August, I notice a big discrepancy here, right there on the commercial going up substantially in August and then down, or in 2015, and then down on the residential. Any reason that you can have deciphered from any of this?
There has been a lot of development in 2015. There is on the commercial side.
Part of that would be the aquatic center and a Good Sam deal. But
In January, there was 12 million for the Sioux Falls Country Club. There was also in April, almost 12 million for the Harrisburg Eastside Elementary. We have 10.2 in May for the Jefferson Spanish Immersion Elementary School. 9.6 million at that same month for the Southside Walmart. So there's a number of things that have occurred through 2015.
Anything else? I've got a couple, maybe if I could. Start at the beginning, sorry. That line that you had for your first graph where you showed that red line for the August dates, could you, or would it be helpful to include that in, like with the entertainment tax? Like you said, that 2015 number is year-to-date, right?
Right.
But not that it maybe matters, but, because that's just like I'm just wondering where that line was in the other years prior, like you showed.
oh,
with the building permits.
Go to the last
I can
slide.
certainly do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one other thought on the building permit values through August. And Councilor Rolfing was asking for some of the names or places or reasons. Would it be, how hard would it be for you to have kind of a running list of the top 10 or 15?
I could certainly add that to this list as well, just put it by month, what's occurring.
'Cause I think everybody's kind of curious of what those,
Yeah.
and we forget, and then something happens, and then it goes, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, for example, in August, we had 10.3 million for Badlands Pond.
Yep.
So there's,
Okay, and then on your second penny capital uses year-to-date by department. Year-to-date, is that the, I'll wait for, yeah, that one.
yes.
It just seems hard to believe that our debt service would be the same proportion as our investment in parks and rec. I mean, this shows it differently than what I'm used to seeing it.
This would be the exact, if you looked at the finance status report that Director Turback provides, if you were to look at the proportionally the expenses through that schedule for the sales and use tax fund, this is exact representation of that.
And the debt service number doesn't include enterprise funds,
Correct.
because the enterprise funds is really where there's a lot of borrowing.
And as we go forward, I can add some of those other graphs to this presentation as well. Just wanted to get an idea of what would be helpful.
Okay, and then as well, you showed on the next page, 2014. Did you have 2014 and year-to-date 2015?
2015,
Is the
this is year-to-date 2015,
this one is, yep, okay.
and this one is 2014 year-end.
So one of the things that's always kind of been in my head is the changes from year to year and how these percentages change and how the pie changes. Having them side by side, or maybe that's not enough room, but that is helpful to see how things have changed from one year to the other visually like this, without trying to see it in a spreadsheet, I suppose. But
Well, I think that, when we go through the budget process, when we had our working session, we talked about some of those big changes. And a lot of the big changes this year were in the enterprise funds, water reclamation especially. There are some big projects that are going to be coming through that enterprise fund. And so we can see those up front, and so this is just kind of a reflection of those plans as they take shape throughout the year.
right. Councilor Karski.
And the talk of the enterprise funds and the debt service that they have, I know when we bond, that the enterprise fund itself, the revenues that it generates, whether it be your water bill or landfill or parking, just to name a few, those revenues are what are obligated to cover that. But is there a secondary obligation? Is there any risk to the
Well, for example,
taxpayers of
Lewis
Sioux
and
Falls?
Clark, that was pledged with sales and use tax funds. It's not going to be paid through that, it's paid through user fees, but it was pledged. And if you look in your finance report, there is a whole page that shows the complete debt of the city.
So it is technically obligated through the sales and use tax, but it's being paid for by the enterprise fund.
It's pledged. I'm not certain about. I just know that that's the phrasing.
Okay. I don't think I ever fully understood that, but that's interesting to know. Okay.
That's, if I could add, that's how I've always understood it in those big cases, that the second penny is the pledged source, but the funds are actually paid through the user fees that are collected. But there's no other bigger guarantee than that second penny. And everybody needs to, that's what gives us our great credit rating too.
But we frequently hear that the city is in a good debt service position because we have not obligated the second penny and we use the enterprise funds. I guess that's what I've always heard or believed, and I'm just, you know.
And I think that's, if I could, I think that's correct. They're saying if we had to, we would have to stop a project or do something like that if for some reason an enterprise fund went downhill. You know, something happened and there was no more income coming in there for some reason. We're backing it as a city. We're backing those enterprise funds, but they have a steady flow of income, and when they do the bonding, they work that into rates and things like that so that they know that they've got enough money coming in, making certain assumptions. And without, assuming those assumptions are fairly close, there should be no problem.
So we're kind of adding to the second penny with the enterprise fund to obligate or to meet that commitment that we've made.
If they can't, right. I think best way to put that might be that we're co-signers with them, with the
For the enterprise.
landfill.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I like that.
Yeah,
Thank
if they can't make it, we're on the hook for it.
Okay, interesting.
I have one other one if I
Yes,
could.
Councilor Ruffin.
I have a suggestion, David. If you look at your second penny capital use to date and second penny 2014, could you do the things in exactly the same order as you have them on either the first or the second page so that we can get an idea of how much bigger the highway and street is, or how much, for instance, the 31%, if it was for debt service, it is basically the same color. The highways and streets aren't. Fire is, fire is green on one and red on another one. Could you kind of proportion, put them in the same spots?
I can do that, and what I could also do is provide a graphic that shows you the amount rather than just the percentage.
Okay,
Because then if you
yeah.
looked at it from year to date, and then what 2014 is, for example, the debt service at 16 million in 2014 versus.
Or you could even just put the amounts right under the 20% or the 50%, and that way we'd know. And it'd be a lot easier to compare, I think, than the way it is right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Good report.
Right, the purpose of this really is to make sure we review what we've been getting. Is there something else we're needing? You know, if there is, we should review it, and then Dave can do it for us. And we've gotten other supplemental pieces from him in the past, and this is kind of an extension of that. And the intention, if I'm understanding Dave's intentions, really are to help us understand the budget updates even better, and I think that's
Correct. My plan is to have these included each month, just a little bit further dive into building permits and this other information you're asking about.
So then the direction would be this committee would tell him to continue on, to give it on to the full council, is what,
Should it be via email, or should it be as a presentation to the full council, or what?
well, in the past, he just prints them out and hands them out to us prior to the meeting. I don't know or I think that would stay the same.
That would be fine. If something new comes up, then maybe I would present and just explain. But if it's going to be information that you're going to see on an ongoing basis, then I think.
Is there anything else that you'd like to see that's not included? That'd be.
Well, for me, I wouldn't mind seeing the entertainment revenues and expenses. I just think as we've paid off some bonds and have additional entertainment tax dollars coming in, and if there's a surplus, where is that going to be spent? It's just, I think for me, I'm interested in seeing that, to see where those potential dollars could be spent, et cetera, and especially as we pay things off.
Well, what's interesting about the entertainment tax is because we did retire that debt, and so now where is that revenue going? What is it being used for, I think, is maybe just a good update, if anything, breakdown of it.
I can tell you where it's going.
It's going through the roof. The percentage is huge, so, we should be paying attention.
Wasn't the, I believe that was part of the financing for the event center. When the debt was paid off for the pavilion and the convention center, that was then, the timing was almost perfect to be used as part of the debt service on the,
Two different funds. They're two different funds.
Oh.
The entertainment tax, I believe, is going more towards maintenance and maintaining of the pavilion, the arena, the convention center, but not necessarily the event center. I can follow up on that, but
I remember the events that debt service that we were using to pay for the pavilion and the convention center. Those bonds were up at approximately the same time as we had to start make payments on the event center, and that's where that money was going to go. But I could be wrong, and please,
I'll follow up.
if I am.
I'll follow up.
It's a good update to get, I think.
Yep.
Anything else, Dave, you have for us?
That's it.
I have one last question.
Councilor Erickson, yes.
When is our deadline, if you will, as far as the supplemental dollars left over from previous budget years? Just walk me through a very high-level timeline of what we have to decide with that. Or has it been decided for us?
It has not. It has been decided on some of the funds.
Right.
There's still a balance of a little over $300,000 from the 2014 capital surplus. I don't think you have a timeline. It's just sitting there right now. You're not up against a clock,
Okay.
but that's where,
I didn't know if we had a timeline.
yeah, that's where 2.8 million came from for the pool, for the Spillerberg pool, and then also another 560-some thousand for the splash pad as well.
The mechanics would be then if somebody, if a counselor wanted to recommend it or the administration wanted to recommend a project, they'd just have to identify it and come and request a supplemental
Correct.
appropriation. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, very good, Dave. Thank you. I think this will help all of us, all the other counselors too.
Thank you.
Any items on open discussion? Anything you'd like to have reviewed or talked about in the future? Nothing at this time? Okay, very good. I'll take a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.